I also want to make a very important statement and to say that I cherish Prof here. I think that she is one of the illustrious academics, and I think that her pedigree in our context is something that has to be respected and not be repudiated. And the statement I made, yes, it is true, and we'll discuss the substantive issue about the term dechemicalization. I think that, but what I want to say is that her pedigree has nothing to do with that. Yes, maybe she was under pressure and that came up, but definitely...
Under pressure from?
No, what I mean to say is that I think it appeared I was lashing out at her professionalism, okay? I could have discussed the issues without taking it to the extreme. And so to that extent, I want to apologize to the President of the Republic, His Excellency, President John Dramani Mahama. I want to also salute his able minister, Honorable Amabwa. I also want to salute Prof here and to say that she's a beloved professor. We all respect him for the work that she is doing, and that we have respect for him. In fact, if she were not doing well, would even bother to come and attempt to give feedback and input to support him to make the right path for all of us. Thank you so much. I want to thank JoyNews for the opportunity, to your good self, for me to be here. Thank you very much. So now, addressing the substantive issue, you see, in the scientific lexicon, if I did chemistry, okay, I've done a lot of courses, chemistry, agriculture, food quality, and then PhD in food science and technology. When you use the expression to dechemicalize, the whole world is actually, you're a chemical. Water itself is a chemical. Everything is a chemical. When you use the expression to dechemicalize, it is very, very ambiguous, amphibious. You have to be specific. And that is why we, and in fact, but in this
case, it was a specific statement.
I had that
the government was exploring to bring in such technology.
No, you could say that without using the expression dechemicalization.
What is wrong with dechemicalization?
You see, let her explain exactly what she meant by dechemicalization.
No, you said
yes.
Dechemicalization cannot be used.
You can't.
Nothing exists like that. So I want you to explain to us what is wrong with the term dechemicalization. What
is wrong with it is that when you say you want to dechemicalize, at the end of the day, you want to see that in the context in which you want to dechemicalize, there's no chemical there. So if there's a chemical there, it means you have not succeeded in dechemicalizing. Do you see that? The water itself that you want to dechemicalize is itself what? Chemical.
So, having gone through your scientific learnings,
everybody, you can read all the authorities.
Dechemicalization.
It's not just me. You can go through, you could do a systematic review, which is something I was doing, but the time was too short for me to conclude. You could do a systematic review of the expression dechemicalization. In the lexicon of risk assessment, pollution remediation, this expression is not used.
Which expression do we use
Dechemicalization.
Which expression can we use in that context?
Like you were saying, you can decontaminate, you can detoxify, you can purify.
What is detoxification? What is the difference between detoxification and dechemicalization for our viewers?
Thank you, Carlos. So when we say that you have to detoxify, it means you're removing the toxin from the context. Here we are looking at what we refer to as a closed system. A closed system is a system you have defined and you want to remove something or add something or create a context to treat. That is in chemistry, the basics of chemistry, an open system, a closed system, and a semi-open system. We have a perfect system where energy cannot pass across the borders and matter cannot pass across the borders. So if you pick a particular system, let's say water body, and you want to remove the toxins, what is unwanted in it, then we say that that's where you can say you are decontaminating the water. In fact, in pollution science, we prefer to, you saw in your presentation, remediate. So use the right expression. Let's see the standard. That was all I was asking for. You see that, look, when she was there presenting, EPA was making the presentation. International audiences were following the presentation.
So you believe
you see that
the president of the land, as well as the chief executive officer of the Environmental Protection Authority, the lead organization that is supposed to be protecting our environment, they got it wrong when they used the word dechemicalization?
I would not be the person to judge them.
No, you are
I
making...
won't judge them because, we are looking at, we didn't come to invent the knowledge we are working with.
Okay.
Please. I didn't invent it, and no one invented it. It is a technology, a body of knowledge that has been systematically built over the years using the scientific method. So the scientific method compels us to use the appropriate terminologies or technical expressions when we are in a technical space.
So
if you are even outside a technical space and you are using the term, you use the proper terminology without necessarily losing the technical context.
So the president got it wrong. EPA chief executive also got it wrong.
Absolutely.
That's the point you want to make. They got it wrong, right?
No, I can't pronounce that judgment.
No, based on the statistics, the data you have, you are saying that
I can't pronounce
in
that.
the context.
It is not in my place to judge them. What I can say is that the expressions they use...
But we have to be factual. You're an academic, right?
Does not corroborate with the scientific lexicon. For example, when I was doing advocacy, for example, in Winneba, I'm going to do how they have arranged to do a talk on how you could handle your own water at home because of the galamsey water that we are having. To teach basic processes you could go through in order to clean it or purify it to such an extent. I will use the expression clean, purify. You see,
you know why this is crucial? If the president got it wrong, dechemicalization, then it means that he's going to take decisions wrong. So that's why we need to establish if indeed the president got it wrong.
That was what ate me. You see, I'm sorry I went over, but that was what was eating me up.
So you stand by your earlier statement that we cannot use dechemicalization.
I stand by the scientific. I stand by the scientific lexicon.
Okay.
It's not my opinion.
So do we even have any technology to
Yes, we do.
Dechemicalize.
Yes, no. Don't use the expression. If you say dechemicalize, I can't answer you.
Okay.
Yes, you can say decontaminate because it's a contaminant. A contaminant. These are anthropometric contaminants introduced into our existing natural ecosystem by galamsey operators. Previously, they were not at that level. There's a natural equilibrium by which the earth itself that's why we call them trace elements. They are in trace amount and they rarely cause concern in nature. But when anthropogenic activities become rampant, ubiquitous, uncontrolled, then they leach into the soil to levels that are a cause for concern. As I exegeted the last time, a single hit, a chronic exposure, single hit is enough. Carlos, you included in this studio, the water you are drinking, I went to your washroom to check your water. The water you are drinking here in Accra, you are putting yourself at risk if there is any...
They are JoyNews.
Yes, if there is any arsenic in it, because the water is not from Accra, it's from Weja. The river is very long to some galamsey corner somewhere. And when the toxicants go inside, where do they come to?
Okay, right. Let me get a response from the Chief Executive Officer of Environmental Protection Authority. So Dr. Ackah believes that you got it wrong, the president got it wrong. Dechemicalization is not the word to use in that context. What's your response?
Thank you, Carlos. I'm happy that he started by apologizing to the president. But there are a lot more apologies he has to render, also to Ghanaians, because let me use myself as an example.
Okay.
I will call myself an authority, apart from being vested in research, in knowing what I do. I have international reputation. I communicate science. So I understand what research is, and I've communicated science, and especially of my research over the years. So in science communication, and especially when you are talking to the public, laymen, I would say, you don't use certain jargons. It makes your presentation not even usable or not even understandable.
But the audience will not understand.
Yeah, so in science communication, we have something we call operationalization of defining terms. So based on the context, the audience, and the conversation that we are having, you can coin terms to use to define actually what you are doing. So granted that dechemicalization is not a word, a scientific word, granted. We were not in a scientific field. We were having a communication with non-scientists or general public. That is one. Two, have you heard of deforestation? Mm-hmm. What does it mean? Are you removing, if we say deforestation has happened, does it mean every forest is gone? Mm-hmm. Some part of the forest is gone, but we still say deforestation. Have you heard of dewatering? So in the atmosphere, we have air, which contains some gases. We have nitrogen, we have oxygen, we have carbon dioxide. We have water vapor as well in the atmosphere. If water vapor becomes too much, or if the percentages of these gases becomes too much in certain contexts, the air may not be useful for one thing or the other, especially for breathing. So if we have a lot more of water vapor in the air that we breathe, it means that we will not have enough oxygen percentage for our breathing. So we do what we call dewatering. It doesn't mean we are removing every water vapor from the atmosphere. So I'm bringing this to his context of if we dechemicalize, are we removing all the chemicals? That's not the case. We remove what we don't want. Okay. We have the sea. We have a process called desalination. Mm-hmm. And in layman's view, I will not communicate it as desalination. I will say desalting. Okay. So that is where a layman will understand what I really want to communicate. We do decarbonization in the atmosphere. As we speak, as with global warming, climate scientists are looking for a way to keep the warming below a certain level. So one of the methods that's being proposed is removing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. It's a process we call carbon removal, or you can call it decarbonization. Okay. We can't remove every carbon from the atmosphere. We need carbon dioxide to keep our atmosphere the way we should be comfortable with. In fact, plants use carbon dioxide to make food, right, in the process of photosynthesis. Mm-hmm. So we take some carbon, but not all the carbon. So we call it decarbonization. Now, framing of words. I mentioned that we have a term in communication called operationalization of defining terms.
Yeah, ODT.
So the word galamsey is now in Oxford Dictionary. But it came at some point when galamsey became an issue in Ghana. That is the case, right? You can read about Ponzi scheme named after somebody called Ponzi. But it's also a term coined. So if he says we work with terminologies that we don't invent today and it's what we work with from, who did that? It comes as and when the area, or maybe the scientists, if in this space, as we are all scientists, deals with issues or want to express certain terms or certain processes. So what I want to tell, in fact, say to my younger colleague, I'll call him my younger colleague, because even my student, my first set of PhD students, at the level of senior lecturers. He said he's a lecturer. At the level of senior lecturers, and I'm not sure they will go on TV and make this kind of communication about science. When you are communicating science, you don't use jargons. It doesn't make sense to people. Science is already a difficult area. And when you want to communicate science that should be meaningful to the people, you don't communicate it with jargons. A lot of the viewers who listened to him yesterday, he said he was speaking jargon. In fact, it's in this social media comment. But then he has already apologized, so I don't even want to go to that angle. So it is not wrong to say dechemicalization. It is not wrong in any scheme you want to put it. From my explanation, I've taken my time to explain this to you. If you go online, you'll find some documentation mentioning dechemicalization. It's a process. We have described it here. If it's not in any body of work, we don't care. Galamsey was not in any body of anything. But then we have it and we use it and we understand what it means when we say Galamsey. Maybe today you add it to your vocabularies, dechemicalization. So it become part of your vocabularies. You have the definition to it. In your preamble, you are giving different methods that we can use to classify what is called or what we call dechemicalization, right? Yeah. Okay.
So the president got it right. You agree? Briefly, because I have other guests.
He's admitted that the president and herself got it wrong. And that they are...
She has just explained.
No, she said that it is not in the...
I didn't say that.
Locus classicus of scientific...
I said whether it
any
is
scientific...
or not.
Hold it for me.
Look, Carlos, hold on. Let me come in. Let me say
she
something.
Has finished.
Listen, I'm not done.
Pose the question
I actually want to go to Zoom to speak to you. You have expressed your view. Prof has also expressed yours.
Let me teach you something. Let me teach you something about science and how you should communicate it.
Listen.
You can contest science.
In scientific
you can contest science. All you need to do
is briefly 1 minute.
I'm not sure. No, I'm not sure he's a body of authority to even talk about communication in science.
If you go along that tangent, you are now doing ad hominem, something I have stayed away from.
Okay, so let's focus on the issue. Let's focus on the issue. Please, let me come in.
If you want to go there,
let's go to Zoom. Let's go to Zoom. Let me bring in Professor Julius Kobe.